Hello, folks, and welcome to Subjective Thoughts. And our comic for today is Sideways Volume 1 Steppin' Out by DC. There is violence, fighting, killing as well, some teenage shenanigans, interdimensional stuff, aliens, and monster, which is also possibly an alien. So, if you are in any way squeamish, you have been warned. Also, spoilers. Alright, here's our team. Out of here, I think the only name that's kind of familiar is Dan Diodato. Or if that's how you pronounce it, I'm not sure. He's the only one that sounds familiar. Alright, so I've learned about Sideways from my friend Simple Simon. Up until he mentioned him, I never heard of the character. And he sounded pretty interesting, so I picked up this trade last year from Book Depository when they were still around. And this is also another one of those that I started last year. I started in bloody October of 2022. Well, now finally I picked it back up and finished it. So, this was an interesting read. Didn't start out to be fair, I didn't read many comic book stories about teenage heroes up thus far, so I don't know, maybe it goes like this. So Sideways is the real name, Derek James, which I'll give points here for not giving the usual name for teenagers. I just feel like the names Sam and Danny and also Jake are. I feel like they're used quite a lot, so I'll give them points for at least in my experience doing something different. Also, Derek's best friend, her name is Aaronstein. That's even higher points for a name I've never heard before for her. Alright, so Derek James was always in these stories, a regular teenager. Up until something happened, and it's a comic event that happened in Gotham where Gotham was had all these earthquakes and these portals open because of a giant bat monster. At least that's the gist of it. I haven't read that event, so I don't know. So Derek was at the time in Gotham with his mom to see about an internship. And he went with his mom, and they got separated because of that. And he fell into a portal, and a few days later fell out of it again on the other side of Gotham. And that whole incident gave him powers. So now he decided to call himself Sideways because he opens rifts and he goes sideways through them. I suppose that's the logic. And his best friend Aaronstein, or Aaron, she makes him his costume, which is a unique idea. She's a cosplayer and a geek, so she loves the stuff. So Derek is your pretty typical teenager. He wants to use his sideway powers to make a channel and make videos and become rich and famous. Which, yeah, that's pretty typical today's youth, I suppose. And so his adventures begin. The story here, the first issue begins where he's sneaking up on Erin and showing her how he also has enhanced strength. Man, that really is the thing that's done to death, isn't it? I guess it makes sense. If you're gonna fight bad guys, you need a bit of enhanced strength. But nothing that seems to be earned though often now. Yes, so besides Derek's new powers and wanting to be YouTube famous or whatever is called YouTube in this universe, there's not really, at least in these 6 issues, that much about Derek personality wise. He has a interesting sense of dress, let's call it that. Other than that, he just wants to be rich and famous, and he wants to and he likes music. I just found it a bit Odd that they didn't add more to his character. I mean, I feel like Aaronstein and even her twin sister are way more developed than Derek is. Like from Aaronstein, you get a sense of her personality quite literally in the first few pages. And Derek is, I'm still not really sure after reading these 6 issues. He's not a bad kid. He's, he loves his parents. He was adopted by his parents. Helen and, shit, what was the dad's name? Jake? No, not Jake. Anyway, David. So Helen and David adopted him. And this is how the story also comes across because he got these rift powers. There's this species of aliens, the Tempest something. I'll leave the name up here. I'm not even sure how to read it. So when he has his first debut video of Sideways, which he starts filming on the roof of his school, he's not the brightest boy. And then he keeps going until he hears this voice, and Tempest tells him, "Well, you're opening this rift is dangerous. I need to kill you." And he's preventing Derek from using. He has a really cool design. This Tempest guy, I'll show you later. And he prevents him from using his powers, and Derek decides that he needs to basically keep falling, like in action movies. Like I said, he doesn't seem to be the brightest boy. So he starts falling off the roof until he can rift again. And then he rifts to Aaron's house, Aaronstein, and she helps him get to the hospital. His mom comes running because Aaronstein calls her, obviously. Derek's mainly fine. He dislocated his shoulder. And then we meet the first villain of this series, Killspeed. She's a young woman who had cancer and she ran out of money. The hospital wouldn't treat her. And then from a lightning storm, she got her powers. But there's a catch. Every time she uses them, it enhances everything, her metabolism and her cancer. So she's dying. So she picked that day to come enact revenge on the hospital staff. And Derek has to face her with a dislocated shoulder and essentially in his underwear and a nightgown, a hospital nightgown. Sorry, a hospital gown. So he fights her. He's obviously he doesn't have any experience in this, and the fight ends with him managing to rift her away from the hospital. And he starts facing off, and then police arrive. And so he's like, "Okay, I'm out of here." He rifts off, and because she's holding him, he closes the rift on her arm, and it essentially severs it. So he's like lying there on the grass somewhere, and there's a rift. Her arm is there all bloodied. And while this is happening, he's being watched by someone. It collects information about him. And that someone is his mom's boss. So his mom, Ellen, works as a PR manager for this Dark Lab Sciences, this company run by this scary lady named Leto. I think, is that a girl's name? I'm not sure. Anyway, Leto is so yeah, she somehow is spying on Derek, and she wants to get him into the lab. I assume to experiment on him and get his powers. And it's gonna be easy for her because his mom got him an interview there for an internship. Another of his and then his second adventure is with another villain appears, Replica. So he can touch you and as you understand from the name, replicate your powers. That fight too ends up pretty shitty because he ends up killing him. Because okay, there's another superhero there, a young one, called Heat something, and Replica already got his powers. He used to be with the Justice League, not Justice League, Teen Titans, but then he quit. So then they're both fighting him, and he also has sideways powers. And he starts rifting after Sideways sprays him with water after he starts using the fire powers. And he essentially combusts into confetti almost. That guy looks like confetti. And so he defeated the villain, but also, killed him. So far, not so good. Uh, so that day, he was fighting him. He had lunch with his mom. Now, his mom doesn't tell him that they're gonna have an interview. So he doesn't know. He just thinks he thinks he has time to still meet his mom, but he doesn't. He ends up being late, so she goes to the interview by herself with her boss. Her boss is very displeased, and we get a story on how Helen adopted Derek when he was a baby. I am confused at where exactly she saw Derek. It's okay. Helen and David Flynn, their surname is. They're okay. It looks like they didn't want to have kids, and somehow they saw Derek, which I don't know how, because Ellen's a PR manager. If she at least, I don't know, was a social worker or something, it would have made more sense. But like this, I'm just wondering, where did she see Derek? Did she decided, you know what, I love him, I want to adopt him. David, we're having a kid. That one was a bit out of nowhere. It started by Leto saying, "Oh, I see you adopted him when you were 42. A bit late to start the family." And that makes her, "Oh, you know what? I want to meet him, so let's reschedule this." And a lot of stuff in these 6 issues kind of seem to really not fit together. Anyway, we continue. Uh, Derek completely forgot about the whole line. She comes home. His dad is there, and he tells him, "Oh, so how did the interview go?" And Derek's like, "Oh, shit." So his dad goes to work. He's a construction worker of some kind. And he goes up to his room, and we see Tempest, the alien uh, watcher guy of Rifts that we met in issue 1. And he's sitting in his room and like, "Young Derek, I need your help." And he's like, "Well, you wanted to kill me before." And he's like, "Yeah, that was perhaps a bit rash. A bit too, that was a bit too quick to judge." Then he takes him to show him where all the other Tempest aliens are. They all look almost the same. They have the same coloring, the same design, but they're all a bit different. And he shows them, how they're fighting, how they're facing all these rifts. And then Derek goes home, and the things become very bad with his mom, because she feels like he's hiding something, and he is. And she also finds out a file on him, because she wants to see his competition. So she goes and she sees a huge file on Derek, and then she sees the recording of Derek sideways. He tries to talk to him about it, but he doesn't want to. He just escapes the house. She doesn't know what to do. He goes to Ehrenstein, but she's not home that day. His sister, her twin sister, lets him in and doesn't tell him that Ehrenstein's at the market with their mom. Anyway, he riffs there. This is like the last issue, issue 6, where he says, "I learned a new trick, riff tracking. I can think of someone and then it riffs me to them." Then, for some reason, he thinks of Tempest, and he goes to see him, and he's fighting this black kind of monster that might be from the Metal universe. The Dark Knight Metal, that whole storyline's from that. Sorry if you can hear a phone ringing. So there's that. And he's fighting him, and Tempest is like, "Help me, young Derek." And he connects with Derek. Yeah, he connects with him. And uses his powers through Derek. He opens a rift, and then Tempest throws the monster in, and that's it. And then they just sit there, and it's very... they sit there and they're talking. While this is going on, there's narration from Derek, because this is a very major day. He talks of all the mistakes he made. Now, while all this is happening, his mother goes to her workplace, even though it's Saturday. She's talking. She goes into an office. She wants to gather up all this information, try to find out what's going on. Why do they have all this information on Derek? What's been done to him? But that gets her killed. And she goes up the elevator. She's being followed. The security guard calls up the head scientist there, who really doesn't like her. He's a creeper, that guy. Alan's been apparently her team has been hiding his bad habits, which I wonder what they are. I assume it's something maybe like drinking. I'm not sure. But anyway, something pretty bad. She threatens him. If you stand in my way, I'll make sure my team doesn't, work, and all these stuff come out about you. As she's searching, suddenly the lights go out, and she's grabbed from behind. And then it turns to dark. We go back to Derek. He went home. And finally he's like, I'm gonna face my mom and call her. But as he's calling her, his mom's body is in an alley, and the detectives and the forensics are collecting evidence around. They're like, that's the day my mom died, and that's the conclusions of these 6 issues. Oh, I forgot to mention one. There's a third villain here, actually. What's his name? I forgot his name already. I'll look it up later. But yeah, he can influence emotions. He feeds off negative emotions. So because again, Derek isn't the smartest boy. He started filming his video from his school. So through that, he found him. Well, he found the school, and he starts, calling out sideways, and all the teenagers get really amped up, and it starts to get pretty bad. Even Ernstine gets affected a bit, but she keeps herself together, and thanks to her and her sister, actually, he starts losing powers a little bit, and Derek manages to rift him away. And then he throws him next to a police station. But yeah, that's about it. Those are the 3 main villains. Alright, so let me go first through the art. I can go through a lot, I think, because this isn't new. It's already in 2018. I see that's Aaronstein there getting ready, Derek behind her. She kicks him for it, by the way. So you see, these are his parents. That's Helen. That's David. There's Derek. It's late for school. I love the art style in the first 4 issues. It's quite cool. I can see that's when that whole thing happened. There's Derek. And yeah, his mom keeps looking for him while she's there in Gotham. And how she thanks to policeman, she finds him because she gives a description to a nurse, and then policeman said, "Oh, we have someone on the 6th floor matching that description." I like his costume design, I will say. It's quite good colors. Okay, I'll show you Tempest now. Tempest is a big boy. See? He's got a really cool design. So yeah, you see here. I really dig this art style. In the issue 5 and 6, though, the art style changes. Someone else is drawing it. You can tell. So, there's Kill Speed. Poor girl has no arm and is dying of cancer now. Yeah, I'm thinking Batsy isn't gonna probably work with Sideways. Because, I'll show you, there's not a lot of blood, but you can see the arm there. There's like, oh shit. I see there's the whole, what was it called? Dark Knight. Right, Dark Knight stuff. There we go. There's the second villain, Replica. He also has a pretty cool design. Kind of looks like one of the Ben 10 aliens, though. And as you can see, he bursts into confetti. Whee! So you do feel kind of bad for him. All right, and there. This is where the art style changes. I do like this style too, but I like the one in the first four issues a lot more. So there's Tempest. Oh yeah, while Tempest is fighting, he loses an arm. It looks like in here already he lacks one arm though. I'm pretty sure in the beginning he had both, didn't he? To be fair, maybe I wasn't paying attention. I could have sworn he had. No, sorry. He was lacking. Okay, he was always lacking one arm. My bad. Let me show you the. There we go. There's that villain. He's the least impressive out of the three. Kill Speed and Replica were a lot more interesting. And also, well, Replica seems to be a bit of an asshole kind of guy. Kill Speed motivation makes sense. Replica's kind of too, but the troll guy not so much. I don't know. Now, there we got Derek running away there. Doesn't want to talk to his mom about things. And that's it. I'll show you. Let's just show you this one, the parents again. So yeah, these are the. I quite. Like I said, I like the art styles. The first one I love more, but both of them are good. And the colors are also good. The colors are also better on the first four issues, especially with Sideways' costume. It looks a little more white in the issue 5 and 6. 6? Yeah, 6. Oh, wait. Let me show you the monster the Tempest is fighting. 1 second. Sorry. I gotta show you this beast. Okay, where is he? Where is he? Oh, there he is. I'll show you. I see they're fighting him. This is where Tempest suddenly becomes cool for Sideways for Derek. There we go. You see, it's a evil looking thing. There we go. And see, the purple here is really lovely. Okay. All right. Now back to the story. I felt like there was a lot of inconsistencies in these issues. It's like they couldn't entirely pick a tone and stick with it. Like the tone of the first four issues is a little more jokey, kind of teenage stuff. I mean, of course, there's the one villain that was killed, but still, it's kind of more jokey, more teenager. And then the second and the last two issues, it kind of turns a little bit more serious. At least I felt like. One of these things I couldn't understand is why Derek James doesn't share the surname of his adoptive parents. I mean, wouldn't he? They adopted him, so he'd be Derek Flynn now, wouldn't he? Yeah, I'm not sure. The dad's character, I don't know why they even bothered to add him, because he's barely in these issues. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be, fair enough. You don't have to, have a lot of screen time for everyone. Or the time on the panels. But still, it just feels like, why did you add him if you're not even doing anything with him? Yeah, I feel it makes more sense with just him and his mom, really. And they seem to have more of a relationship than. He doesn't hate his dad. There's not that much interaction, so it's kind of like, why did you add him in here? And then again, the whole adoption thing. It doesn't. Like, where did Helen see Derek that she wanted to adopt him? That's what I wondered. Again, she was a social worker, worked with kids somehow, and somehow came across Derek that way. Would have kind of made sense. Maybe no one wanted to adopt him and shit like that. That would have made a lot of sense. But her being a PR person, it's like, I don't know. Why would you? And also and the relation that and the one thing with this whole internship, Derek shows no interest in science whatsoever. Like, I'm not saying it has to be a right down nerd stereotype, glasses and everything. But there's no showing of any interest in science. So I just don't understand the whole plot with the internship. Was it just a way to make sure Helen finds out about them knowing and recording Derek? Because it seems to be. Because what is the connection here? Derek never mentions being interested in science, never talks about science. Like, okay, if you took, for example, the first issue when he goes to do the whole videos, if he filmed that video for research purposes, he was filming himself, right? It was like, okay, first recording of usage of sideway powers. That would have made sense. Okay, so he's interested in his powers on the scientific level. Because his mom says, oh, I'm sure he'll fit in here perfectly, he'll be brilliant. And I'm just like, based on what, madam? We don't see any indication that he's even interested. Like I said about Ernstine, she's a geek. She's interested in nerd stuff. All the costumes and shit she makes. You can see it based on her room. And based on also how she acts. But here it's like, what gives us any indication that Derek's... It's like he says, I'm interested in being a famous scientist. He just wants to be rich and famous. At least throw in, I want to be a rich and famous scientist or something. But no, it's like, it doesn't make sense. If his mom's, like his mom even says, I'm risking my career here. For what, Helen? Your son's clearly not interested, so why are you risking it all for? And again, if he showed any sort of the most small amount of interest, okay, maybe, but he doesn't. It kind of seems like, again, just to get her to find out. That's it. Nothing else. Because what is the point of... Again, if you don't show him being even interested in science. So I found that didn't make any sense. It's not like with Peter Parker, for instance, how he combines he is a nerd. He's interested in science. He uses it, fucking hell, he uses it with his superpowers to make his webs and everything. And he, like, thinks all these things, especially I see that mainly in the cartoon. How he uses his scientific thinking for a lot of things. There's nothing like that with Derek. Not at all. So it's like... And then the last issue of him with Tempest. Okay, so thus far, this is the third time Derek ever sees Tempest. And he says, oh, I wanted to stay with him because I felt like he was lonely doing, the job of being a Tempest. That feels like the kind of payoff if they've known each other for a while and have met multiple times. Him meeting the guy for 3 times, and the first time Tempest tried to kill him. Then the second... I just feel like it's too fast. And it doesn't make sense. How do you all of a sudden this more close to him, just meeting a third time and fighting a monster? At least show us, how... Because the second time they meet, Tempest offers him, I want you to help me. And then that's it. It's not talked about, or they go back to it again later until that. So yeah, these sort of inconsistencies were like kind of... But how does that make sense? So yeah, I found that was very lacking. And yeah, and that's it. I just found that stuff lacking. Now, of course, it could maybe... I don't know. Maybe someone who's a writer will tell me I'm wrong here, but I just felt like they didn't know exactly what to do with it, and then just wrote it in, and that's it. They didn't think too much of what to do there. But I don't know. That's what I just thought there. I wish they would have, connected it better. Yeah, that was about it. Besides the stuff, I did enjoy the read. The third villain was a bit lame. Yeah, now it did end very interesting, like I said, with them murdering his mom. And now I wonder what's gonna happen next. What is it gonna change in Sideways? Oh, oh, maybe that's why they wrote the dad character, so he'd have so he wouldn't become an orphan again. Is yeah, now it begs the question of what Derek is going to do and how is it going to change him as a character. Is it going to change him? Well, what will he do? Will he search for his mother's killers? What does dark lab sciences want with him? Okay, they get him. Well, are they gonna try to replicate his powers? I'm telling you, that little lady is a creepy one too. But yeah, so and that's because Helen found out. That's why they offed her. So yeah, it's left to be seen what happens. I will pursue the other issues in the future because I am intrigued to see where this goes. I do think overall the stories weren't bad. If you want something a little more fun, although still with some some violence in it, I'd recommend giving this a read. I think Sideways has a lot of potential. But I think what they should have done is they should have introduced him maybe in someone else's series and then built him up over time. I think that would have been better. Hey, fuck it. Maybe have one of, well, maybe not Batman, but maybe what, because he isn't Gotham. Maybe one of the Robins, or I don't know, somehow connected at someone, guiding him there. Because, say it's a miracle. I was about to say it's a miracle he didn't kill anyone, but he did kill someone. And maybe even possibly that kill speed 80 if they didn't get her to the hospital in time after her arm was severed. But yes, that is about, yeah, that's about it. Still, I would recommend if you want something, a little more fun, less complicated to read. All right, folks, so that is it. Let me know, have you read Sideways? What did you think about him? Did you enjoy the first 6 issues? Did you also find inconsistencies, or is it just me? And that is it. Now remember, collect what you're passionate about and share it on YouTube. Bye!